Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine, and it's the playlist video, and on this one we're going back to 1981. So we're going back to 1981 for this. I've picked 8 albums. I know it changes week to week how many I actually pick. Sometimes it's because I realise if I kept it an even number, it would be easier to make the thumbnail, which in this case it will be. So the first album is going to be by Journey. And it's going to be the album Escape. This has got to be one of the best AOR albums. What's that stand for? Adult Orientated Rock, whatever people might think it means, which at the time, anything that was deemed to be adult orientated rock, because you don't really want to be associated with grown-ups necessarily, but I don't know if that's a US term. But for me, I was aware of Journey. A lot of my friends at the time, I was about, how old was I? Probably about 20. In fact, I don't know. I was probably about 22, 23. Were into this band called Journey, and I hadn't heard the stuff that I actually absolutely adore now, which is a kind of very proggy jazz rock stuff, the early albums. And the first ones that Steve Perry had been involved in, I knew about, but kind of Wheels in the Sky and stuff like that, I didn't connect to straight away. However, 1981, all the planets were in alignment, perhaps. But I heard the first lead-off track from this album, which was Don't Stop Believing, and that was it. I also thought that this was almost the future of what music should sound like. The production on this album, to this day, I feel is absolutely incredible. I also loved, again, it was typical American lyricism, songwriting, where everything is in third person kind of thing. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy. I bet he was called Johnny. Born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere. It's just that kind of cinematic imagery that just drew you in. And then Neil Schon's kind of that triplet attack of guitar notes as we move into the first kind of refrain, it was just perfect, wasn't it? Also, by this point, I'm a huge fan of the band The Babies, and Jonathan Cain is now in Journey, so I'm already intrigued. But Steve Perry's voice on this, strangers waiting up and down the boulevard. It's got to be a boulevard. The word pavement doesn't quite work the same in the UK, does it? Working hard to get my fill, everybody wants a thrill. Don't Stop Believing. And the guitar solo itself is so melodic, so in tune with the lyrics, so in tune with the power and the way that kind of walking riff comes in as we build up to the way the song goes. To this day, I've never, ever got bored of this song. I think the first time I played it to my sons down in LA, I said, "Now this is melodic rock. This is pure songwriting." I think Lee, before he left school, was in kind of a school choir that did this. In fact, I think most rock choirs nowadays do this song. It's just brilliant. It's timeless. The whole album is fantastic. There were one or two songs which perhaps I might have skipped over, but there were things like the title track, Escape. There's a part when we get, I think, past the first, again, he's just a boy out of school. It's, again, third-party storytelling, which works so well for rock music, works so well for, obviously, videos on MTV, to able to put the script together. There's a part in that song, Escape, where the guitar riff comes in. It's such an uplifting, da, 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 da. It's the production, you think, God, this is how guitar should sound. Maybe if it's full-on metal guitars will sound, and I'll say that slightly differently, but on music like this, Neil Schon's guitar sound, the guitar chord work, the drums, the keyboards, the backing vocals, it's just perfect. And then, of course, you have to have ballads on albums like this. And you have to have ballads that reach into your heart cavity and pull the heart out and just sprinkle some dust on the magic as you listen to this, and you're going to have a song that says "Still They Ride." This kind of song about Jesse rides, not Johnny. Jesse rides through the night under the main street light, riding slow. But you can see, can't you? And I bet you the boulevard. It's been raining. It's at night, and the neon lights, because they're always neon lights, are just lifting up the shadows through the puddles on the ground, aren't they? As Jesse rides that motorbike through the town on his own, with all the imagery that you can expect in your mind's eye about getting older, coming back home. It's just fantastic. But there's another one, isn't there? There's another ballad. Who's Crying Now? And again, the guitar solo. I think this is Neil Schon's genius as a player. Because yes, I think when he played with that Sammy Hagar live album HSAS on a couple of tracks on there, the notes just it's like turning the tap on and they just pour out and they're all on target, and with all that right amount of reverb, which of course the next Journey album after this, the reverb was turned up to 11, but there's that right amount of echo on the notes. It's just perfect. I listen to this album. Open Arms is another one. Gosh, Mother Father, Stony Love, Laid Down. Actually, there isn't a bad track on this. It's if you want to introduce people to Journey, this one. The next one is probably the one I play the most, perhaps, but this is probably perfection when it comes to this style of music. The Journey reissues, these came in little digipacks, so for those of you thinking it keeps showing vinyl, this is the CD version I have, and for the purpose of me doing this playlist, it is this version that I played. It has a couple of live tracks from Houston, 1981, which is also available on DVD. That is a fantastic concert. It's an absolutely amazing concert. I mean, the band were massive by this time, but obviously this album took them to totally different heights. But yes, this is, if you want to get into Journey, if you're watching this and you know Journey, you already know what I'm saying, don't you? And you're probably just reminiscing on the way I'm talking about it. But if you're new to the band, this is a great doorway in. It's a great doorway in. It is. So that's my first choice for 1981. I'm still staying in the United States of America for my next choice. And this is an artist that appeared in last week's playlist as well. And somebody mentioned this. And it is Bob Seager and Nine Tonight. I know Live Bullet is seen by many people as the definitive Bob Seger live album. And that does have Turn the Page on it and some other stuff that's very good. But it doesn't come near this one. It doesn't come near this one to me. This is Bob Seger's definitive live statement. I have a single CD version. I understand there is a 2 CD version which has an extra track on it. And also, I don't know, please confirm this, whether Let It Rock fades out or not, because it's edited for CD. And the thing is with the version of Let It Rock, Drew Abbott on guitar, he's got to be one of the most underrated guitarists. You never hear him mentioned, do you? But his guitar playing and the way that Let It Rock goes through all of those different rock and roll standards, and we come around and till the end, we move towards that solo at the end. And isn't it just so exciting? I know you can have, guitar solos that, as we're getting in the 80s, kind of the Eddie Van Halens and all this kind of stuff, and the Schenkers and whatever. But sometimes you just need a rock and roll guitar solo, a guitarist that knows how to play rock and roll solos. And for Bob Seger, Drew's playing on this is just amazing. I mean, Nine Tonight, I think, was unique to this album, wasn't it? Trying to live my life without you, second track. You'll accompany me, Hollywood Nights. Now, I mentioned Hollywood Nights from Stranger in Town, didn't I? Great track, but this is the one, isn't it? If you love the track Hollywood Nights, then the version from this album is the one to have. I was at the Munich Beer Festival with my mates actually when this came out. I remember seeing it all stacked up on the floor in a record shop, and I thought, I've got to get that when I get back. They just look, the band just look amazing. But Hollywood Nights, when it gets to the climax of the song and all the, the female vocals come in, because this is the thing about Bob Seger's songs. I love female vocals, especially on backing vocals, the way it kind of really takes a song to another level. And I think Hollywood Nights, the version, the way it goes to that, we're heading towards the end of the song, but the way that the harmony vocals come in, you just wanted to keep going, just keep going. There's no need to stop here. You could have gone round, a few more times. It doesn't matter. Keep everyone wanting more, I guess. Old Time Rock and Roll, Main Street is gorgeous. Against the Wind really comes to its own on here, and the Fire Down Below. That was I think one of my entry points to listening to Bob Seger, Fire Down Below. And again, it's like I say with Escape, lyrically, a lot of these songs are in third party. Some of them are autobiographical, perhaps, and more about first person. But there's this storytelling aspect about life and after the sun goes down that really, really works. Her strut, Feel Like a Number. I said last week, didn't I, that Feel Like a Number was a song that still resonates to me. Fighting to get away from the factories and find my own path. But Feels Like a Number still works. It's universal. If you're 18 and you're not doing what you think you should be doing, listen to that. It will help you. It's wonderful stuff. Fire Lake, Betty Lou's Getting Out Tonight, great rock and roll song. We've Got Tonight, of course, which is a very powerful, heart-rendering ballad. But the live version, of course, Bob Seger just sings with such emotion and such feeling. Amazing. And Night Moves, Rock and Roll Never Gets, and then Let It Rock. I always say there should be a Bob Seger box set or some kind of celebration of his career and his output, and must be so much stuff that hasn't come out yet. As we reach perhaps saturation point with career-defining box sets, there are certain artists who are just now almost exposed, but because of the way that so much stuff has come out for other people, sometimes multiple times. But there hasn't been anything from Bob Seger, and that would be just simply wonderful. So that's album number 2 from 1981 is 90 Nights by Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. Proper live double album. Who's next? No, it's not Who's Next, because that would be 1971. Who's Next? He's also from America. Are they all? All my choices American? I think they might be, apart from one. This is New England, their third album, Walking Wild. I really championed this band. I'd found the first album with Don't Ever Wanna Lose Ya, bought it as a single. The second one, Explorer Suite, I thought was a bit very much like ELO, which is fine, but it wasn't as guitar orientated as I was expecting it to be. And so this one, which produced by Todd Rundgren, was the third one, and more kind of keyboard driven, but it has its moments. It has its moments, it really does. On the Elektra Records label. Elektra not known for their journeys into rock music at this point in their career. And I do have this on CD. I think it's on the classic Wounded Bird label. If it's not Rock Candy, it's Wounded Bird, when stuff like this to actually find it again. But I played this over and over and over again. Walking Wild, Holding On to Me, Don't Ever Let Go, Love's Up in the Air, DDT, Get It Up, L5, lots of really clever, quirky keyboard stuff. She's Gonna Tear You Apart was probably the track that I loved the most, and it was because it had a great riff, but it was the way that the string-orientated keyboards came under that riff that just lifted it, this song, to another level, and that was the one that I played the most. Um, Elevator, very clever song. You're There, wonderful. I mean, I think Gary Shear. I'm connected to the guy on Facebook. I need to talk to someone from New England. I've got the box set as well with all the different versions, the lost tapes and everything. But if you've not heard New England before, you've got to listen to their stuff. It's really, really great AOR. And again, a band, as I said, that I championed at the time, Walking Wild. Where are we going now? Oh, we're going to go to the UK actually for this one, and this is Ian Hunter, the Governor. Short Back and Sides. When I saw this album cover, by this time I'm a massive Ian Hunter fan. I've caught up. I've gone backwards in time. I've got all the Mock the Hoople albums. I've started since Schizophrenic to get into his solo albums. I bought Welcome to the Club. I'm in. I'm so excited about where Ian Hunter's going. So this album was a surprise, especially as he now got short hair. Still got the shades on, obviously. I also thought the cover and the colours was a bit weird, but of course it was produced by Mick Jones, who was a massive Mock the Hoople fan, and I know almost a stalker in his approach to being an Ian Hunter fan. I think Ian Hunter was perhaps overwhelmed by how much Mick Jones wanted to do the production on this, perhaps. Mick Ronson was involved, but there's something very, I don't know, clashy. It's close in to the Clash with lots of like reggae vibes and all sorts of things, but it does have some of Ian's finest moments on it. There were loads of outtakes on this, so I'll talk about it in a moment. Central Park and West. It's one of his best songs. Lisa Likes Rock and Roll, I Need Your Love, and then the song that was written about John Lennon being shot, Old Records Never Die. A great guitar melody from Mick Ronson. Mick Ronson, what a great player as well, sadly missed. But Old Records Never Die is just one of those haunting Ian Hunter ballads that should be on any Ian Hunter compilation, whatever. You could easily put together a compilation of Ian Hunter ballads. I think there's been one, hasn't there, once? And that one would have to be on it. Noises is kind of like lots of studio sounds and stuff. Rain, great ballad. Gun Control, Theatre of the Absurd are Mick Jones's influence more than anything else. And Leave Me Alone and Keep On Burning are great, great Hunter songs. The version I'm been playing on CD is this one, which is from the giant Stranded in Reality box set. There is also a 2 CD version. There are so many outtakes on this album which are worthy of talking about, but I'm not going to go into too much detail on these. But it's an album that when I first recorded it, and I used to play it in my friends' cars when we were going to pubs and stuff, I wasn't a massive fan in some ways because of the influence of the Clash. The one that came afterwards, All the Good Ones Are Taken, is an album I played a lot more, and I got behind and saying to all my mates, you got to listen to Ian Hunter more than this one. But as the years have rolled by, as this always happens, I've become closer to this. And as I said, All Records Never Die is, with the amount of rock stars and musicians from this time period who've sadly passed away, has become more heartfelt and taken on a total different level of meaning, really. So Ian Hunter and Short Back and Sides was my next choice. We're now going back to America. And it's Loverboy and Get Lucky. I can remember buying this exactly when I bought this because I had to go to the dentist in the afternoon. And I'm one of those people that hates going to the dentist. And I remember my mum saying, "We've got to go now. We're going to be late," because I'd I'd come home from work and she was going to take me in. And I thought, at least I've got this to listen to when I got back. Because what made me buy this? I didn't know anything from the previous album, which was just called Loverboy, although I should have done, or did I? There was this Kitty Sotton, no, it wasn't that. Turn Me Loose. I'd heard the single Turn Me Loose, I think, at Rock Discos. But everyone was talking about this album because it was working for the weekend. I resonated with that title, as you can imagine, based on how I thought about the world of work at this time. And so I dived into playing this after coming home from the dentist with a numb mouth. When It's Over, wonderful ballad. Jump, great, simple one-chord riff, but a absolutely incredible song. Gangs in the Street, another. In fact, that's the one with the one-chord riff. But Jump was a great song, of course. You know, someone else was going to have a song called Jump quite soon, which would basically bury this. But Gangs in the Street was fantastic. And then the next track, the last track on side one, was like so out of place. It's called Emotional. And basically it's the Rolling Stones. But it's so out of place on here. I think one of my mates at the time said, don't you just pick the needle up and just turn over to side two as soon as that starts? I did. And I still feel that song doesn't quite fit in with this list of songs at all from the album. It's the weakest point. Everything else fits in. The Lucky Ones, for instance. It's Your Life, Watch Out, Take Me to the Top. The whole album is perfect. There's just this one song, Emotional, that doesn't have the same emotion as the other songs on the album. This is the CD version I'm holding up. For those of you watching or listening, is the BGO 2-on-1 disc album that came out. I can't remember if it's even still available. BGO, a great label. I mentioned Wounded Bird and Rock Candy. BGO, the other ones, 2006, so it's probably gone. But wonderful stuff. Right, there's 2 to go. No, there isn't. There's 3 to go. The next one is Van Halen, an obvious choice perhaps. This period of Van Halen's career, what am I doing? Oh yes, I'll show you in a second. This period of Van Halen's career, up to this point, they've been like a party band. Obviously, the first album, I saw them destroy Black Sabbath at the Birmingham Odeon. I bought the next one, which again had these kind of almost dance party, good time songs on there. You know, all the cover versions by the Kinks and everything. What I'm trying to get at is, by the time we get here, the band turns down the lights, it becomes much darker, much more serious, and there's just a different feel about this album. And someone said, fair warning, Lord will strike that poor boy down, turned from hunted into hunter, went to hunt somebody down. There was a different feel, and in fact, me reading that out has just sent shivers down my own spine as I do this. Because I think the way that Mean Streets track starts, the guitar and that riff is so unique, so different, so Eddie Van Halen, and the way it comes in with that rolling bass and drums. And Dave Lee Roth doesn't do as many yelps than this. This is more serious. This is darker. And maybe this is where Van Halen could have gone. Everything about this album is darker, more serious, more grown up, as if they were decided to change. Or of course, they would go more into party mode very soon after this. But the guitar solo here, the production, Ted Templeman's production, and the way at the very end, this ending of this track, where we have this one note riff, and then Eddie just builds up this layer of guitars doing different things underneath it, and it just moves towards the end. I think it's one of the best, amazing things about the recording of rock music you can listen to. Gosh, if you've never heard this before, you're in for such a treat. But everything about this on the CD version, Mean Street, Dirty Movies, Sinner Swing, Hear About It Later. There's an attitude in Dave Lee Roth that's, I just believe every word he says. Unchained, the way the double guitars come in towards the end of the track. Push comes to shove, so this is love. Sunday afternoon in the park and 1 foot out the door. I think I think I have to mention these two segueing because, again, they're very, very unusual, weird almost for Van Halen. Sunday Afternoon in this Park is this kind of strange, bass-driven, unusual sound that's menacing and sinister. It could be in some kind of like dark thriller, film noir track, and then we move into One Foot Out the Door, which is a real fast rock song, but it's the solo in this, the kind of as if Eddie Van Halen's just turned around, flicked a switch, and just delivers this whole flurry of notes that is just in the moment. I totally think that he just did this. One take, walked off. Incredible stuff. My copy of the album came with a certificate. Aren't I lucky with the other 1,000 odd people that got it? It says, Van Halen, in honour of witnessed the onslaught of over 700,000 watts of light, 40,000 watts of sound, and over 220,000 man-miles travelled, carrying over 50 tons of equipment. Van Halen takes great pride in decorating. This is where you're supposed to insert your own name, Phil, with this document that certifies that you have survived the 70s to become a true rock and roller and a member in good standing of the 1981 Van Halen fan club. Signed by the entire band, obviously not signed in person, but as far as I was concerned back then, I have a certificate to say I have survived the 70s. Wow. This is a long time ago now, isn't it? They didn't do one to say survived the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s, the 2010s. Gosh. Anyway, there it was. So that is my next one. There are two left. There really are two left now. Next, I don't know if I'm in America or Canada, but I know I'm not in the UK. Very mysterious album in some ways. This is Quarter Flash. And this I knew from the single. I never bought the single, but it was everywhere, called Harden My Heart. I loved the track. Female vocalist, but no pictures of the band. That would never happen now, I don't think, because everyone would want to try and sell as many copies as possible, because this album cover couldn't have helped with sales, I wouldn't have thought. It's too mysterious. And all songs are written by Marv Ross, and it's Rindy Ross, which I guess was Marv's wife and partner, on vocals and saxophones, and boy could she play. And the track that I played the most off this album, because it's kind of lightweight funk rock, I love it. And there is a follow-up album to this, but it doesn't shine a light on this one, was Williams Avenue with the funky bass lines and slap bass and stuff. 7 minutes and 57 seconds. I'd have rounded it up to 8, wouldn't you? 8 minutes, I'm going to say. 8 minutes of sheer genius. And Rindy's saxophone playing on this and her vocals are just stunning. It's an album that deserves more exposure. It's of all the things I've shown you, apart from Ian Hunter, it's another album that sits outside of what you might expect. But it's an album from 1981 I felt I should mention because it meant a great deal to me, and it still is. And I think that Quarter Flash, I don't know what happened to Rindy and Marv afterwards or what else they did, but this is wonderful, and it isn't on the Wounded Bird label. I was just thinking, was it? No, it wasn't. This is Geffen, but yeah, wonderful stuff, especially for those two songs. And the last one, the last album in my look at 1981, and just to say, as I always do, this isn't the only 1981 year I'm going to look at 1981. For those of you saying, where's this, where's that, how could you have missed that out? It's all planned, you know. It's not just thrown together. The last one is The Wild, the Willing, and the Innocent by UFO. I've done a separate video on this when Paul Tonka Chapman sadly passed away, but I couldn't in this particular episode from 1981 have missed this out. The one before this was a step down for me. After Michael Schenker left, I thought that's UFO are now it's not going to be the same. It isn't going to quite work. I was a massive Schenker fan, and I just thought, no, no. I tried with No Place to Run, but George Martin's Beatlesque production and everything, I just thought has some moments, but no. And then I can't remember where I was, probably the Costermonger in Birmingham, and they played, it was either one or two songs, because this is the way your memory plays tricks. Change Chains, I think it was, or it could have been Making Moves. I know it was the opening track of either side one or side two. It doesn't matter, because both of those songs were just jaw-droppingly good. And I bought this album. I took a chance, which again, I could only buy so many albums a month with money and everything. Change Chains, Long Gone, The Wild Willing and the Innocent, It's Killing Me, Making Moves, Lonely Heart, Couldn't Get It Right, Profession of Violence. One of the things that, several things hit you with this album, probably why, this is why it's my second favourite UFO album, period, is the production, the drum sound, Andy Parker's drum sound, the strings. We'll bring that into the way the strings have been interspersed into the music. Phil Mogg, his storytelling, his vocals. I've said so many times before, one of the most underrated rock vocalists of all time is Phil Mogg. But here, he's at the top of his game, and his expressions, the way he puts over the emotion in the lyrics, the storytelling. It's fairly famous that Phil Mogg would wait till the last minute to come up with the lyrics, which used to drive the producers nuts. But the storytelling he does here, Long Gone, the choruses, the authority in his voice, the way the whole band have shifted, that you just think this is a UFO are still going to be one of the greatest rock bands of all time. Whereas the album before, I was thinking their star is fading. The best is behind them. When I heard this, I thought, no, it isn't. This is a totally new chapter. And I think the songwriting itself, but each track on this is just stunning. And I think Paul Chapman's guitar playing works perfectly well. The riffs, Paul Raymond, all of them. This is an absolute classic in British hard rock. And it's one of UFO's finest albums. It is. So those are my 8 choices for my look at having a playlist from 1981. What do you think? What would you have said? What else would you have chosen? What have you been playing if you're outside of 1981? And of course, I'm talking like this because I was there. There's a good chance, an incredibly good chance, you weren't. And you've discovered this music a lot later on. So, or you, for some of these albums, I've never have played that. Never heard it. Go off and stream it and come back and say what you think. And just tell me what you've been playing as well. It's all fascinating stuff, and it really inspires me to go and listen to things as well. And thank you for all of your comments on my very varied playlist, which was the previous edition in this series. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for subscribing and ringing that little bell and visiting all the social media channels and the website at nowspinning.co.uk. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Become a patron, a YouTube member. You can get 15% off merch and come along to our own virtual pub called the Now Spinning Arms, which meets twice a month. So take care, all of you. Keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.